We have now seen how the carbon dioxide in the blood is expelled and how the blood is oxygenated in the alveoli in the lungs. Yet there is a considerable distance between the alveoli and the other tissues of the body. Furthermore, transporting oxygen is a process requiring the greatest sensitivity. This resembles carrying this crystal glass you see in my hand and trillions of others like it to the other end of the world without breaking them. How is the oxygen to be carried that distance? The answer appears in another miracle of creation. The oxygen which enters the alveoli with the air is met by cells responsible for transporting it at the moment it mixes with the blood. These are the red blood cells. There is a very special protein inside the red blood cells, hemoglobin. Every single red blood cell contains some 250 million hemoglobin molecules. This protein, called hemoglobin, is a marvel of creation, specially designed to take up oxygen. It contains 4 iron atoms. These atoms attract oxygen like a magnet, and thus oxygen sets out on its long journey in the blood. When it reaches the tissues in need of oxygen, hemoglobin's power to bind to iron is reduced thanks to a number of specially designed subsystems. The oxygen is thus released from the hemoglobin in the red blood cells and delivered to the cells which need it. The carbon dioxide produced by the cells is again transported to the lungs by the hemoglobin and complex systems. The carbon dioxide carried to the lungs is discharged from the body here. This exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide continues every second all through life. Let us now have a rather closer look at the system. The hemoglobin molecule is a protein made up of 564 amino acids. In the central region are 4 iron atoms responsible for the transportation of oxygen. Hemoglobin's 3-dimensional structure and amino acid sequence have been specially designed for the transportation of oxygen. An alteration to any one of these amino acids or to the 3-dimensional structure of hemoglobin would mean that it is unable to carry oxygen and fulfill its duty. Yet, as well as hemoglobin, the subsystems that work with it also possess a flawless design. For instance, hemoglobin and oxygen establish a powerful bond when they come together in the lung. Yet this bond weakens at the tissues which stand in need of oxygen, and the oxygen is released from the hemoglobin. The system has been planned down to the finest detail. If the bond between oxygen and hemoglobin in the lung were not sufficiently powerful, then the oxygen would not combine with the hemoglobin, in which case it could not be carried to the tissues which need it. Those tissues would start to die. As a result, the slightest alteration to the present system in the hemoglobin would spell death. In fact, cyanide, one of the strongest known poisons, kills by attaching itself to the hemoglobin molecule and preventing it from performing this very function. All these facts once again reveal the baseless nature of the theory of evolution. The theory of evolution maintains that living things acquired their features gradually, stage by stage. Yet, like the other millions of systems in the body, the oxygen transportation system can only function if it is in its present perfect state. Even the slightest alteration in hemoglobin, which forms only one part of the whole oxygen transportation system, means the system as a whole is unable to function. For this reason, it is impossible for hemoglobin and the oxygen transportation system to have come about by evolution. Even a hemoglobin molecule on its own is evidence of the invalidity of the theory of evolution and proof of the perfection of God's creation. In the Quran, God says, "And in your creation and all the creatures He has spread about, there are signs for people with certainty."